I have recently had the pleasure of watching this movie with someone who had never seen it before. And not only had he not seen it before, but he didn't know any of the spoilers from the movie either. Just to see the reactions on his face when shit went down in the movie, man, it's priceless. Return of the Jedi. So Return of the Jedi is the concluding chapter to the original Star Wars trilogy. If you remember where we left off, Han Solo was frozen in carbonite and Boba Fett got away with him and he took him to God knows where. So now we pick up and we're on Tatooine, we're in Jabba's palace. Now Jabba the Hutt is this big oozing slug type thing, he's a crime lord, and he's like one of the laziest bastards in the galaxy. And the first half hour of this film takes place here because the crew has to get Han Solo back so we can finally take out the Empire once and for all. And I like the way this movie starts off. Apparently the whole crew came up with this big scheme in order to get Han Solo out of there. Unfortunately, the whole plan doesn't quite go our way. I mean, yeah, Leia does rescue Han Solo, but right afterwards, she is caught by Jabba the Hutt, and then comes the outfit that every guy has fantasies about. Anyone with a girlfriend wants to see that girlfriend in the Slave Leia metal bikini at some point in their relationship. That's just a fact. Yeah. And not too soon after that, Luke Skywalker shows up and shit starts going down, which is really awesome. They're all at the Sarlacc pit, and it looks like they're all just toast, and then Luke just springs into action. Now, I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think all the trailers and posters back in the 80s all showed Luke having a blue lightsaber like the previous films. So when Luke whips out his green lightsaber for the first time, audiences must have been like, wait, what? I love it when movies can throw curveballs like that. So Luke's just beating the shit out of guys, Leia's choking the life out of Jabba the Hutt, shit's going down, and Boba Fett pops onto the scene briefly. Because Han Solo accidentally bumps into him, he shoots Boba Fett up into the sky, he lands into the Sarlacc pit, and he just dies. Just like that. That's why I never saw Boba Fett as that important of a character, because in the entire original trilogy, we really don't get to see him that much, like I said. However, I do have a theory that Han Solo and Boba Fett have a past or something. I don't know how far that's ever gonna go, but it would be interesting to see how Han Solo and Boba Fett actually met. I don't know. So the crew all gets out of there, they escape, and Luke and R2 go back to the Dagobah system. Kinda sucks that the only scene Yoda is in this movie is his death. And in Luke's final conversation with Yoda, he actually starts to feel this weight that is on his shoulders now. He's like, yeah, I am the last of the Jedi. I'm going to have to confront my father again and the Emperor. That is a heavy ass burden. And after Yoda dies, we actually get another talk with Luke and Ben, who drops another big bit of news on the audience. Oh yeah, Luke, by the way, you have a sister. And guess who it is? It's the only relevant female in this entire trilogy. Yeah, Luke and Leia are brother and sister. Which is funny because now everyone thinks about that moment in Empire Strikes Back where Leia kisses Luke, and now it's just become one of the most awkward moments in Star Wars. So anyways, Luke now goes to join the Alliance and they're gonna discuss their plans to take out the Empire. So this time around, they have actually constructed another Death Star because it went so well the first time. But this time it's got a shield generator coming from the forest moon of Endor. However, the scene where they're discussing this introduces one of the most important characters in the entire Star Wars trilogy. That's right, I'm talking about Admiral Akbar. Concentrate fire on the main reactor. It's a trap! Now, a lot of people say that this is the worst movie of the entire trilogy, and I think the main reason for that is because of what we find on Endor. And that is a species known as the Ewoks. Now, I know people who hate the Ewoks, and I know people who don't mind them as much. I personally don't hate the Ewoks as much as some other people do, although I do see where those people are coming from. But I think they just provide, some fun comic relief and just something different for a new Star Wars movie. In fact, we get some pretty funny stuff with these guys. This is actually the funniest film in the entire Star Wars trilogy. Like the scene where Han goes up behind these stormtroopers, he's like, haha, I gotcha! Then all these Ewoks come out of nowhere and they're like, oh yeah, we got them! Han Solo's like, okay, that face he makes. And actually one of my favorite scenes in this movie is where C-3PO is telling the whole Star Wars story essentially to these Ewoks, and he's got the sound effects going on. How he managed to obtain the sound effect of Darth Vader's mask is beyond me. So now the whole crew is hanging out on Endor with the Ewoks, but Luke gets it in his head that yeah, he has to see his father again, he has to confront him, because he knows that Darth Vader is conflicted and he wants to turn him back to the good side. And I love the mindset that Luke is coming from with that, because everyone's telling him, yeah, Darth Vader can never be turned, it's too late for him, it just can't happen. Luke is like, no, what do you know? I have felt the good in my father. I know I can turn him back. So he goes to confront him, and now we get to finally meet the Emperor. The Emperor's lines in this movie are just so classic. The way he talks is all slow and evil, and you pitiful little band. He's just really fun to quote. Is fully armed and operational battle station. So the Emperor's plan is pretty much to turn Luke's anger against him. If Luke wipes out Vader, then he will take his place as the Emperor's new apprentice. So now we have another fight with Luke and Vader. Only this time Luke is a lot more experienced than he was in the last movie. And it gets to the point where Darth Vader starts talking. He starts reading Luke's mind and he finds out that Luke has a sister. And he says, okay, if you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. And Luke just goes nuts. He just goes, never! And just really starts to kick Darth Vader's ass. To the point where he's got Darth Vader on the ground. He cuts off his hand. Oh, sweet revenge of the Jedi. And then the Emperor speaks up. Fulfill your destiny and take your father's place at my side. And then we have one of the best moments in this movie, where Luke just throws his lightsaber. He's like, never. I will never turn to the dark side. I'm always like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And at that point, it seems like the Emperor has lost. But that's not quite the case. If you will not be turned, you will be destroyed. Then he starts shooting lightning out of his fingers. Holy shit. And this soon turns into one of my favorite scenes in movie history, where Darth Vader is just watching the Emperor torturing Luke. Luke is yelling for help. He's like, Father, please help me. Yeah. He looks back to the Emperor and he picks the Emperor up, carries him over to this power generator thing, and just throws him over. One of the best moments ever in cinema. Redemption for Darth Vader. Darth Vader is now a straight up hero. The unfortunate thing is that all the lightning shorted out his circuits in his Darth Vader suit, so now he's gonna die. So now we finally get to see what is under the mask. Luke and his father Anakin finally have a real conversation, kind of, before Darth Vader actually dies. So the Emperor is dead, Lando in the Falcon blew up the second Death Star, and peace is restored in the galaxy far, far away. I mean, you can't really think of a better ending to a story like this. You know, Luke has a funeral for Darth Vader on Endor, and everyone's celebrating, the Ewoks are having a festival. It's a happy ending, and thus concludes the original Star Wars trilogy. So Return of the Jedi is a great conclusion to one of the best movie trilogies out there. It's the funniest of the three, and it's got just the best resolution. And the new theme that John Williams introduced, he actually introduced a couple of them. He did introduce a theme for the Emperor, but he also did Parade of the Ewoks. Dun, da, da, dun, da, da, dun, da, 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 dun. It's fun to listen to. So Return of the Jedi, I know you've seen it, so here comes the big question. Who is your favorite Star Wars character? Whoever it is, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.